Shalom. I wanted to add this to the end of the lesson while it was still fresh. This is the account in Matthew of a boy that was epileptic, and Yahawashi, our Messiah, had healed him. The section I'm going to read comes from Matthew. It's also in Mark and Luke, but in Matthew, this is chapter 17. This was right after the Messiah had explained to his disciples that John the Baptist was Elijah reincarnated. So Matthew chapter 17, verse 14. And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man, kneeling down to him and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic, and sore vexed, for oft times he falleth into the fire, and oft into the water. And I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him. And Yahawashi answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. Verse 18, and Yahawashi rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. I'm actually going to continue reading verse 19. Then came the disciples to Yahawashi apart and said, Why could not we cast him out? Actually, I'll come back to that. So here we have an example of epilepsy in the Bible. Now, to get that understanding, we go further researching into the word lunatic. That's in Matthew 17, verse 15. And Strong's Concordance G 4583. Outline of biblical usage: to be moonstruck or lunatic, to be epileptic, epilepsy being supposed to return and increase with the increase of the moon. Of course. This meaning is doubtful, as the Greeks knew nothing of epilepsy. That last line, I don't think that's true at all. They obviously did know of epilepsy, because what it shows here is they understand. Well, first of all, the word is there and it's translated as such. But secondly, what I have, what's become very apparent to me, and I'll have to do a lesson on this later on, but from reading, probably hundreds of accounts of people's with parasites and also experiencing it myself, that the parasites, and in this case it could have been a tapeworm, right? Because the article we just read talking about how pork tapeworms cause epilepsy, that the parasites, and this is where I think moonstruck and lunatic comes in, is that the parasites are actually more active around the full moon, far more active. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that I've discovered from research, which I'll have to remember to go back and do an article on or discussion or lesson on this. But you can see many other ways that the lunar cycle impacts people's behavior. I believe it's well documented, and I've read this, and again, I'll have to do a lesson on this, that criminal activity spikes around the full moon. Emergency rooms are the busiest around the full moon. And I've always read various unsatisfactory reasons as to why that's the case, but what I have come to understand is it's because the parasite activity in people's bodies ramps up during this time period, and that increase in activity, many times it's related to the parasite's reproduction cycle is what causes people to start acting in ways that they normally wouldn't. And when I came to this realization, of course, through the Spirit, because all wisdom comes from the Most High Yahawah, when I came to this realization, it was really eye-opening for me. And additionally, the realization that there is a strong, again, there's a very clear, what's clear in my mind, and I hope to make this more clear in subsequent videos, is the clear connection between parasites and devils, or perhaps more colloquial known as demons. Another really interesting sort of notion or understanding that, let me tee up with the scripture here, starting at, okay, so it says that, and Yahawashi rebuked the devil. So there's a connection here between the parasitic activity and devils, these evil spirits that hang on people. And Yahawashi rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. So no more seizures, no more tapeworm. Verse 19, then came the disciples to Yahawashi apart and said, why could we not cast him out? And Yahawashi said unto them, because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible to you. Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Wow. So fasting is a topic that I have a lot of familiarity with, and also have fasted extensively myself. And I think I mentioned it in a previous video. One of the most powerful ways to move closer to the Most High, again, because it obviously suppresses demonic activity according to the scriptures, but also parasitic. And again, as I'm positing here, there is a clear and distinct relationship between devil, what's called here in the scriptures devils, or demonic activity, and parasites. And sort of, my thoughts are getting all jumbled here, but fasting severely weakens them from my personal experience, and also various accounts I've read. I'll have to pull up more information on that. But also prayer and um, what I'm beginning to understand is, again, I'll have to do a lesson later on this, but exactly how the prayer um, heals our bodies, and possibly how Yahawashi um, healed people. Of course, again, it was through the Most High and in the prayer itself, but as I've come to understand, there's always a um, maybe not physical explanation. Secular is not quite right. Um, Scientific's not. There's always a more carnal explanation as to why the healing um, took place. And again, what's so exciting to me about going into these topics is coming to some of this realization, and then also putting it into practice to not only heal myself spiritually, physically, but also um, facilitate um, healing of the elect as well. So I think time-wise I need to cut it there, but I will come back to this topic. Shalom.